Hello everybody, and especially my students. In this video we are gonna solve the task without calculating the size of the angle. Calculate the values of cosine x, tangent of x, cotangent of x, and sine of 2x and cosine of 2x if you know that the value of sine of x is equal to 2/5 and x, or our angle, is from the interval pi/2 to pi. In this exercise, the most important thing is to find out what the value of cosine of x is equal to, and for the reason and for this task, the most important identities or formulas are these formulas. So let's start and let's think about how to find the value of the cosine of x. And if you really have a look on this or at these formulas, you will find out that the best way how to calculate the cosine of x is the Pythagorean identity, which means that we know the value of the sine of x, and in this equation, or if you want to this identity, we know all the values but not the cosine of x. So let me do it this way. I will first simplify or rewrite the Pythagorean identity to the formula which can be easily used to calculate the cosine of x. So we will take the Pythagorean identity, which says sine of x, or sine squared of x, plus cosine of x squared is equal to 1. And if you want to find out what the cosine of x is equal to from this formula, the first thing you do, you take away the sine of x squared, which means then the cosine squared of x is equal to 1 take away sine squared of x. And if you want to find the value of the cosine function, you simply square root both sides of the equation, which will then mean that the cosine of x in absolute value is equal to square root of 1 take away sine squared of x. Which means if you get rid of the absolute value, it means that the cosine of x is equal to plus or minus square root of 1 take away sine squared of x. Now you have the formula for calculating the cosine of x. On the other side, this is like note, if you want to find out the formula and you know not the sine of x but cosine of x, you can use the formula in this way, that you can calculate the sine of x as plus minus square root of 1 take away cosine squared of x. But in our task we won't use this one because the cosine of x is not given, but the sine of x is the given value, and it means we will really use this formula to calculate the cosine of x. And it means that cosine of x is equal to plus or minus square root of 1 take away sine of x is 2/5, which means if you square it you will get the number 4/25, which means it's plus or minus square root of 25 is the common denominator, and 25 minus 4 is equal to 21, which means that our value of cosine of x is equal to plus or minus square root of 21/5. Now we have to make the decision if the value is positive or negative. To make this decision, we will use the fact that our angle is from the interval pi/2 to pi, and for this we will use the unit circle, which says that our angle is from the second quadrant, and in the second quadrant the cosine function is always negative. So from this information and based on this value here, we can find out and make the conclusion that the cosine of x must be equal to negative square root of 21 over 5. So this is the result. The cosine of x is equal to negative square root of 21 over 5. Now, as we have the sine and cosine values, we can very easily calculate the value of the tangent of x, which is given by the formula sine of x over cosine of x. It means it is equal to sine is 2 over 5 and cosine is negative square root of 21 over 5. As you can remember from our previous video, these two 5's will cancel each other and our result is negative 2 over square root of 21. But as you can remember from the previous year, it is not good manner, and this is a conflict with providing the result with the radicals, which means that there cannot be radical in the denominator. So you have to multiply this fraction by 1, which will not change the value of the fraction or the number, but basically you can replace 1 by the fraction square root of 21 over square root of 21, because this fraction is of course equal to 1, and if you do so you will come to the result, which is negative 2 times square root of 21 over 21, because square root of 21 is equal square root of 21 times square root of 21 is equal to 21. So our tangent of x is equal to negative 2 times square root of 21 over 21. The next step and the next thing you can calculate very easily is to calculate the value of cotangent of x, which is basically given from the reciprocal identity, and it is equal to 1 over tangent of x, which means it's 1 over negative 2 times square root of 21 over 21, which is equal to, as 1 is the fraction, 1 over 1, and we know that it will produce then the negative 21 over 2 times square root of 21, which basically means, this is something you already noticed when you calculate the cotangent of the angle, you simply change the numerator and denominator of the fraction as the result of the tangent function, and you will come to the result, which is and you can be seen here. But again, this fraction breaks the rule because there is a radical in the denominator, so you have to do the same procedure as we did above, or for the tangent function. So you simply multiply your result by square root of 21 over square root of 21, and this is then gonna be negative 21 times square root of 21 over 2 times 21, because square root of 21 times square root of 21 is 21. And as you can see, you can simplify this one, where 21 will cancel with this 21, and the result is negative square root of 21 over 2. Okay, so we have already the values of cosine of x, tangent of x, and cotangent of x. Now the next step is, or the next task is, to calculate the value of sine of 2x, and for this one you use the double angle formula, which says that it is equal to 2 times sine of x times cosine of x, and for this formula it is critical to know these two values which we already know, so you simply replace sine of x with the value which is 2 over 5 times, and we know that the cosine is negative square root of 21 over 5, and this is gonna produce the result which is negative 4 times square root of 21 over 25. So this is the result for sine of 2x, and let's calculate the cosine of 2x, which is at the value is given by the double angle formula for cosine of 2x, which is equal to cosine squared of x take away sine squared of x, and this is equal to the value of the cosine is, and now I suggest you to use the parenthesis, negative square root of 21 over 5 squared take away, and the sine is equal to 2 over 5, which was given at the very beginning of our task, and again squared, and this is equal negative number squared is positive number, square root of 21 squared is equal to 21 over 5 take away square the 2 over 5 squared is equal to 4 over, this one must be squared, so it's 25, 4 over 25, so there is a common denominator 25, 21 take away 4 is equal to 17, and as 17 is the prime number, we are done here, and we know that the value of the cosine of 2x is equal to 17 over 25. We are done here. There is nothing to be done anymore, so let me just summarize. The cosine of x, if sine of x is equal to 2 over 5 and x is from this interval, then the cosine of x is equal to negative square root of 21 over 5. The tangent function has the value negative 2 times square root of 21 over 21. Cotangent is equal to negative square root of 21 over 2, and the value of sine 2x is equal to this number, and the cosine of 2x is equal to this number. This task is quite simple, and I think we are done here. So let's have a look on one more task, which is gonna be a little bit more complex. To start with this task, let me clean my whiteboard, and let's change the task a little bit. So give me a couple of seconds before we start, and in this task we will be calculating not only cosine, but in this case we will be calculating the values of, and you will understand very quickly, we will calculate also the sine of x, cosine of x, and cotangent of x if you know the value of tangent of x is equal to negative, and let me just use 2 over 3, which is not like a very common number, because you cannot very easily calculate the value of x, and x is from the interval, as tangent is negative, it must be from the interval pi over 2 to pi, which means it is from the second quadrant, because tangent is negative in the second and fourth quadrant, so everything is set here for our new calculation. Okay, couple of students struggle with this task because they don't know how to and where to start. But let me say that it's quite easy, because you have to find again the equation, or maybe the equations, that will help you to calculate the sine and cosine, these two values which are like critical and used in all these identities or formulas. So the main task is to find out what the sine and cosine is equal to. How do we do? From this information we can very easily read that, and we should use this identity or the formula that tangent x is equal to sine of x over cosine of x. So let's use this one as the first. It means negative 2 over 3 must be or is equal to sine of x, sine of x over cosine of x. But as you can see, there are two unknowns in this equation, the sine of x and cosine of x. So we have to find out how to calculate these two. But good news is that the Pythagorean identity is helping us, because we can use it, which means that the sine squared of x plus cosine squared of x is equal to 1. So now we have like two equations with two unknowns. The first one is sine of x, then the second one is cosine of x. We can use the substitution method, which means from the first equation we can say that the sine of x is equal to negative 2 over 3 times cosine of x. And if you realize that you already know what the sine of x is equal to, you can replace sine squared of x with this expression. This would then lead to the equation, and let me use the parentheses again, negative 2 over 3 times cosine of x, the whole expression squared, plus cosine squared of x is equal to 1. Now there is nothing to be done, but we have to square this expression, which will be positive number. So 2 squared is 4 over 3 squared is 9 times cosine squared of x plus cosine squared of x is equal to 1. The next step I want to do is to get rid of the fraction, which means I will multiply both sides by number 9, which is then gonna be 4 times cosine squared of x plus 9 times cosine squared of x is equal to 9. Now what that means is that these are like terms, so we can add them up by adding the coefficients, which means 13 times cosine squared of x is equal to 9. Now let's multiply both sides by 1 over 13, which means cosine squared of x is equal to 9 over 13. To solve this equation, it means and it requires to square root both sides, and then this is gonna be the absolute value of cosine squared of x is equal to square root of 9 over 13, which is equal to 3 over square root of 13. We have the problem here with the square root of 13, but okay, let's get rid of this square root of 13 by multiplying square root of 13 over square root of 13, which I was explaining in the previous video. It is equal to 3 times square root of 13 over 13. But as we have the absolute value here to, this is no more here, which means that the cosine of x is equal to plus or minus 3 times square root of 13 over 13. Now we have to make the decision if it's positive or negative number, but this decision is gonna be made on the information from our task, where we know that the x is from the second quadrant. So if you sketch again the unit circle, which is very useful and powerful tool, And if you realize that we are in the second quadrant where cosine is negative number, based on these two information, we can say that the cosine of x must be or is equal to negative 3 times 13 over square root of 13 over 13. So we have the value of the cosine, and if we take this value and we want to calculate the sine of x, we simply take this value and fill it in the formula from the very beginning, which says that the sine of x is equal to negative 2 over 3 times, and we calculated that the cosine is also negative 3 square root of 13 over 13. And if you have a look on this numerical expression, you can find very easily that the result will be positive number, so sine of x is equal to positive number. These 3's will cancel each other, so it's gonna be 2 times square root of 13 over 13. So this is the value of the sine function. And as x is really from the second quadrant, the sine the value of the sine function is really positive, so we are happy and everything looks fine now. The tangent is equal to negative 2 over 3, so what will be the cotangent equal to? This one can be calculated very easily, because we know that the cotangent of x is equal to 1 over tangent of x, which means that it is equal to, and you can simply take the tangent function or the value and change the numerator with the denominator, so it is equal to negative 3 over 2. You are done. There is nothing like tricky or especially calculated, but I just want to show you that these cosine and sine values are really powerful and useful. So when we use the formula that the cotangent of x is equal to cosine of x over sine of x, which means the cosine is this value, and it is negative 3 times square root of 13 over 13, and we know that the sine is equal to 2 times square root of 13 over 13, and we know that these 13's will cancel each other and these square roots will cancel each other. You can very easily see that this is really equal to negative 3 over 2. Okay, but the easiest way is to just take the value of the tangent and change the numerator with the denominator, and you will get the value of cotangent function when tangent function is given, when the value of tangent function is given. Now let's find out what is the value of the sine of 2x, and we will use the double angle formula, which says that it is equal to 2 times sine of x times cosine of x, which is equal to 2 times, and our sine is equal to 2 times square root of 13 over 13, and cosine is equal to negative 3 times square root of 13 over 13. So if we want to simplify this expression, we can see that our result is going to be negative 2 times 2 is 4 times 3 is 12 times square root of 13 over 13 squared. And I'm pretty happy with this result, but if you want to find out what 13 squared is equal to, you maybe should remember the value for the perfect square of 13, and you will find out that this is equal to negative 12 times 13 over 169. Okay, Now the same procedure for cosine of 2x, which is given by the double angle formula, which says cosine squared of x, take away sine squared of x, and in this case it's gonna be, I guess, a little bit nicer number, because cosine of x squared means negative 3 square root of 13 over 13 squared. At least we will get rid of these square roots, take away, and let me use the parentheses again, 2 times square root of 13 over 13 squared, which means a negative number will be positive. 3 squared is 9 times square root of 13 is 13 over 13 squared. Oops, sorry. Squared, take away 2 squared is 4 times 13 over 13 squared. The same reason as in the previous fraction. As you can see, this 13 will cancel with this 13 and this one with this one, so the result should be 9 over 13 take away 4 over 13, which is equal to 5 over 13, and this is our result. Please don't be afraid of the numbers. This is just the math you do with the numbers. What I wanted to show here, and I didn't want to provide like a very nice and exact example, which is like very common, but what is the most important about this task and about this task in this video is how you can calculate the value of the functions sine and, let me stress it here, cosine of x when tangent function value is given. The same procedure would apply if the cotangent function will be given. I mean the procedure or algorithm. You simply find two equations, which is also in this case, with two unknowns, so this is our first equation, and you always use the Pythagorean identity, and then you solve these two equations with two unknowns, so that you will find the value of the cosine and the value of the sine function. And once you have these two numbers or these two values, you can very easily calculate the value of sine of 2x, cosine of 2x, or you can very easily use the formula where it is required or requested to know the values of the sine of x and cosine of x. Okay, I think this is it for this video, and I hope you will find it useful, though the second task is not working with the nice numbers, but this is like it is. And thanks for watching, and see you during our next video. Bye.